Hi everyone, this is Hiba with Seller Mobile. I have got a very special guest with me here today. This is Caesar. Full disclosure, Caesar, I know Caesar because he actually signed up for our software. And a couple of months ago, we got to talking. And Caesar has a very interesting story and background in e-commerce. And so I thought, let's invite Caesar and have him talk to us, and so our viewers can see really all the different paths there are into getting into this world of e-commerce, be it Amazon. You can start off there, or you can end up there. So Caesar, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started in the world of e-commerce.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that wonderful introduction. I want to say that your energy is kind of addicting, so it helps to do better in sales, actually, when you're hanging out with good, positive people. So
agreed.
Hey, thanks for having me, Eva. Yeah, I think when it comes down to, and I'll go into my story, but when it comes down to sales, a lot of it is the mental state that you're in. So what drives you to get up every morning has to be something bigger than like a job, I guess. So you have to be driven to do something different. Like, why do you want to do something different? I've always kind of coached my team this is like when you're stuck in a state of, poor me, I don't want to do something, then it's very difficult to break away from what you're doing now. Like, you just want to just show up to a job, if that makes sense. So my first thing is I've always teach people about their mental state. That's very important. If you look behind me, there's a lot of books. I had to get into that. I'm an engineer by trade, so I got a background in computer engineering. I found out very quickly I'm not a cubicle junkie. I love talking to people, so I'm kind of a weird form of an engineer. And so I thought that the best place to be is in a customer-facing role, but maybe not in person. And so I got into internet marketing around 2009. And that's really where my journey really started on the online space. So I knew about internet marketing, SEO, how to get stuff ranked, understanding PPC, how to do video marketing, how to get really good on camera. That was tough. It took me at least a good 6 months to get comfortable in front of a camera. And then I just started coaching. So, yeah, has that happened to
you? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So in 2011, my wife says, "Okay, you've been playing around this for 2 years on this online space. It's time to bring me home. I want to be home with the kids." So I have 3 boys, so we were very driven by family, and those 3 boys were our lives. And so she was driving. I think it was like 45 minutes from where we were living up in the mountains at this time. We had lost pretty much everything in the crash of the '08. We lost our home. We lost our finances. I mean, it was a mess. Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that in the '08 crash if you guys had invested in real estate like we did. Excuse me. So the idea was bring mom home, and at the time I had a business partner that showed us drop shipping, and I figured, hey, this is something that she can do. Yeah. She's not very good at online marketing. She didn't want to be in front of a camera. She doesn't like affiliate marketing, and so e-commerce was a perfect place to start for her. And so we were taught to copy and paste items out of Amazon, bring them over to eBay, and that's where our journey started.
For those that don't know, what is dropshipping?
Yeah, so drop shipping is you're basically the middle person, kind of like the best way I can explain this is Walmart. Walmart has relationships with a lot of different companies. They're the middle person that puts the real estate down, and then to put your product inside of Walmart, you have to give Walmart a commission, sometimes higher, sometimes lower. So drop shipping is nothing more than you being that middle person and taking a product that's already existing on the online space and then bringing it over to your personal store. In this case, at the time it was eBay, to be able to copy and paste the picture, the description. But what I would teach is modifying a little bit, making it different so that you're not having to price match other people and just being different on the space. And so we would change up the pictures a little bit. We would change up the text and then make things a little bit different so that you can stand out different than your competition, because there's a lot of folks doing this already out on eBay when I got started. So I wanted to be different. So once the product sells on your eBay store, you don't purchase that product until it actually sells. That's the beautiful thing about drop shipping, is that really there isn't much money out of pocket. So it worked for the person that wanted to learn this for their spouse, like myself, or just doing this part-time from home. I had a lot of people doing it full-time eventually from home. They quit their jobs, which was a pretty cool thing. And what would happen is once that product's sold, you have the money of that customer on your PayPal debit card. You go back to the supplier, let's say it's Amazon, you swipe your card with that person's income on Amazon, ship that product to the customer, and then you get paid the middle person profits. So that was pretty cool. And I said, wow, this worked for me. I started testing this out for myself, and I started teaching my wife this. And then I got this idea, say, hey, I can build a training center around this, and let me help some people. And then once folks started doing it by hand, they started saying, wow, this is taking a really long time. So my engineering mindset said, I think I can do this faster. We wrote software to be able to pull information out of Amazon's API. We're using Overstock, Kmart, Sears. I mean, a lot of different stores out there that had all these supplies, because some places are cheaper than Amazon. And so we would write the software to be able to pull this information off, and then you can import that CSV file, which is essentially a field of it's a file that's kind of like Excel file that's broken down into all these different fields of picture, description, and you can import 100 items at a time versus one at a time. So it saved people a lot of time. I turned the whole system into an affiliate product and a training center so that others can go help other people out. And that was kind of my mentality from being involved in the online space, is don't be the person that's just the salesperson, but be an affiliate to help people spread the news and help other people out. I always believe in doing a good turn daily and being that person that doesn't hoard all the money but helps other people out, if that makes sense. So that's the less that you have to sell. Right. So I learned that a long time ago before even getting involved in this space, and I figured, hey, this is gonna be cool. This is gonna help a lot of people that all they want to do is just make an extra $500, $1,000 extra drop shipping. Some people are making $3,000, and very special people are making the $30,000 drop shipping from very specific stores that they found online doing the same thing. So it's a very, very cool niche to get started with, and that's where I got started.
Right, but let's talk a little bit, I mean, just to shift gears a little bit, I want to clarify kind of what drop shipping is today for Amazon. It's very different than what you mentioned, right? So it's essentially the only really way to do it is to do FBA. And so it's important to make that distinction of, like, you know, getting those items, even though you're not touching it, you're still doing drop shipping, you're not actually touching those items. But Amazon now requires, for if you want to drop ship, which is definitely a way to get into Amazon without, like you said, investing a lot of money, but you gotta get items into FBA, and that's kind of the only way to do it now.
Yeah, great topic. So that's a good point. Some folks are doing, and some of my students were doing some of the FBA stuff, actually drop shipping out of Amazon, not using eBay. They skipped eBay, or they're using both platforms, but they're doing eBay and Amazon, and Amazon's very strict on drop shippers. So if you don't own a physical product, let's say you found it on another store site and you brought it over to Amazon, if you have a cancel rate, let's say that the item goes out of stock, if you have a cancel rate of more than 2.5%, I believe is the number, then they shut down your account and you can no longer sell. So what Hiba just said is actually absolutely true. I got into Amazon around so 2011, 2012, 2013, 14, and then 2015 I flew out to Florida to learn from some guys doing like over $1 million a month on Amazon. I was like, wow, I got to learn this stuff called private labeling. Right. When I got started on Amazon, I was scanning. So I was going to like your local secondhand store, and my wife would go to a garage sale, and we would find brand new items, sometimes used items, and we were scanning, and it would show you the profit that you would make after you scan this UPC code. Things have changed a lot now, though, because some places you can't qualify to sell in those categories. But I'll give you this perfect example. I went to a garage sale. They had $3. They had this Sony micro cassette from the 90s. If you remember the little micro cassette players, it was sealed, and I scanned it, and it showed that it was for sale on Amazon for $350, and she wanted $3. And I was like, whoa, that's going to be an awesome profit, you know? And so I'll give you guys a little nugget. The rule of thumb on Amazon is the price that you pay times 3 is what you want to make. So if it's selling, let's say you paid $5 for the item at a garage sale or a local store, and it sells for 15 or more on Amazon, then that's a perfect item to buy. You can purchase it and then submit it into Amazon's warehouses. And then if you have more than one item, it's even better. But I transitioned from doing that after I got some capital into private labeling. So private labeling is what I learned out in Florida from all these gurus. And it's essentially
tell us exactly what is private labeling or labeling. Yep.
So what I just shared is you're kind of hijacking somebody else's item. Private labeling is you actually buying UPC codes and you're creating your own brand. And when I learned about creating your own brand, that just changed the game for me. I said, wow, you can actually, call it Hiba as a brand, and nobody else can touch that because that's your baby and it's your brand. And even better on Amazon, what I've learned the hard way is if you trademark it, nobody can copy that. They can't even hijack it. So you can submit trademark, documentation. Amazon will protect you and kick that seller off. Right. So I've experienced the good, the bad, and the ugly with competition. And if you guys ever sold on Amazon, you know what I'm talking about. People will try to copy what's working. And I believe if I was to do a comparison and contrast between eBay and Amazon is a lot simpler to scale because you understand a ranked number. And if that ranked number, I'll give you another nugget here. If it's my rule of thumb is 50,000 rank or below, it's a good item to kind of look into. There's tools out there. That's actually how I connected with Hiba. Is that Seller Central was a lot cleaner. The Seller mobile app was a lot cleaner than Seller Central app. And it was a mess. I mean, as you know, you guys saw that market, and I want to say thank you for allowing me to be a beta tester as well and be able to submit some revision that I thought would be helpful to the app.
Absolutely, because I think that's the piece, right? Is I think from a lot of what you're saying is you learn from your, you learn from the journey, and then it's about making your way. It's about figuring out what you want and then going out there and searching for people or for softwares that you want them to do a certain thing, and you got to contact people and you got to, make that journey. And it sounds like, a lot of what you're talking about is paving your own way, which is really impressive, and people want to do that. They just need to figure out how. And right. So I just want to kind of interject there. What you're saying is really important here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of my biggest traits is I love networking. That's why you and I are talking, because I love reaching out to see what's working for folks, and then if we can be of assistance to each other. And that's how I've always operated. It's how I build business. And I will always kind of taught the golden rule is treat others like you want to be treated. So I always like to keep those bridges open so that in the future, maybe work on a product together or have a conversation like this together. And so always keep your relationships close in business. And I'm always looking for local suppliers of items. So my first invention I actually created, and I found this out on Amazon the hard way. This was an FBA product. I sold over 1,000 units around Christmas. They were stocking stuffers. It was, I'm trying to look for it because I don't know if I have one here, but it is, so it was a little, and I believe they're in Texas, as a matter of fact. It's a company that you add little spices to fruits. So I would go into a restaurant and I didn't have, it's a Spanish name called Tajin, Tajin. I don't know if you've seen it before, but it's like a fruit powder hot sauce. So I found out who was a contact in Texas. I reached out and they heard about my idea. And she says, hey, I'll totally support you. I'll find you the person that buys wholesale out in California. And then I built relationships with that person locally. And then so the product was essentially, I built this keychain with an O-ring on it, and the keychain was attached. And now I can have it as attached to my keychain, this hot sauce. And then I would go anywhere. And then, that's something so simple, yet it wasn't really out there.
Yeah.
And that was a kind of a niche I fell into. So when I went into this local store here, they said, wow, can we sell some of this here? I said, yeah. She's like, why don't you do this other hot sauce? So then I went to other hot sauces, and it's one called Tapatio. It's a California company. And I learned the hard way that about trademarks. So I got a letter from their attorney after selling 1,000 of these units saying that, and I'm thinking the way they found out about it was probably their supplier, their vendors wanted access to this product. And essentially they called me and said, you got to pay $25,000 if you want to use our name. So I went to China, started researching the bottle, and I said, I'll make my own product, my own bottle, and just call it Hot Sauce to Go. And that's how that journey started. So that's one niche. You find, I think the key thing to finding products, that's what held me up in the beginning, and I think it holds a lot of people up, is where do you get started? What product do you want to sell? And so here's a simple answer. Find a need in the marketplace and then fill it. And if you can find something that, like that example of the hot sauce that's not working for, like there's nothing out there, anybody else is doing it. I think that's going to be a cool little niche. And then the second thing I'm going to tell you about is use something like Merchant Words. That's a powerful tool that I still use that tells me, are people really looking for this product on Amazon? And I believe the new Seller Mobile just added a tool that allows you to scan by barcodes and then search the rankings on those products. So another cool niche.
Absolutely.
So yes.
So there are a ton of tools out there that you can utilize to figure out what you want to do, right? So if you don't have a ton of capital, like what you said when you were first starting off, things were a little bit tight. Drop shipping is a way to just understand the business, understand e-commerce, where you're not having to invest too much money. Buy something from a supplier, you put it into Amazon, and then as you're selling it, you pay back your supplier, and just kind of start learning the business. And then once you figure that out, like you did. A private label is a way to grow and expand your business. Would you say that's kind of a fair way of someone who wants to start on Amazon or e-commerce to do?
As far as, sorry, I missed that part of that you were cutting out.
So, sorry about that. So, no, I was just saying that, there's a little feedback there.
Okay.
Just to say that, are you interested in the other?
Go ahead.
So, no, just drop shipping is a way to kind of get started when you don't have a ton of capital. Once you figure out the niche, it gives you time to learn. It gives you sort of, without, having to invest, tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars on a product where you don't really understand the market. And then once you figure it out, a good way to transition is private label, which you see a lot of people doing now, is finding a niche, you've got some capital, you invest in it, and then you start really building your Amazon business or your own brand on Amazon. Would you say that's kind of a fair way to start?
Oh yeah, that's a perfect way to start, because I think in the beginning, especially coming from a place where my credit wasn't very good back then, I had to work on that. Yeah. It's very hard to find capital from a credit card that you can buy it in large amounts. And so if you go to a place like Alibaba and purchase, that wasn't really a resource at the time, because a lot of these suppliers from Alibaba want you to buy in large amounts, or they don't really take you seriously. So you can do like a test run of 100 items, and it gives you the ability to use a tent, which I use right next to me. I have a little white tent where I can take pictures. They're pretty cheap. I mean, let me just show you real quick. Right there.
Yeah.
And it's great for taking photos, and then there's a lot of little secrets with photos that you can do. I'll share another nugget with photos. I think photos are a big thing to get people emotional. So you want your first photo on Amazon to be all white background. So the item inside it by itself. The second item should be like how it's used. So create like an emotional experience. So for example, if it's a hot sauce, have a tortilla with food, or have some type of food that makes it emotional, that somebody can see it, how it's being used. And that's what was really taught, that those experiences, very few people actually read the content that's on your, I would say, features area, and then the description is really designed to fulfill its SEO. So when search engine optimization, when someone's searching, that's what's going to grab either from the title or from the description. I really believe that's kind of the case. But what sells the customer is going to be your images. How clear are your images? So make sure you use a good camera. I just recently, after doing this for now, going on 4 years, I finally had enough guts to pull the trigger and import a new product from China that I've been researching, and it was about a $5,000 purchase, so it was very scary sending that kind of money to China. I got to be honest, I've never spent that much money on any type of inventory at all. Most things have been built kind of over time and growing, so it was a big risk factor. But the relationship I built with this Alibaba customer, I took the conversation from Alibaba over to WhatsApp. I just felt like it was a very comfortable conversation. Excuse me. So the first person I was talking to on the same product was asking quite a bit more and wanted me to purchase in the 10 or 20,000 units. I was able to get my product branded with my logo on it. So I'm working on my trademark for my brand because of some of the issues I've had in the past. But having a trademark under your logo is nothing. I mean, it's beautiful, right? Because it's your baby, and nobody can touch it because that's your inventory, that's your product, and it's your trademark. So if anybody comes and tries to copy or duplicate that listing, I just have to submit that to Amazon, and with hopes they can support you and protect you. As of recent, Amazon stopped taking sellers inbound calls. I don't know if you've experienced that, but it makes it very difficult to have a conversation.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like, I mean, you've given us so many little nuggets here of, you know, how you got started and really what motivated you into doing this, and you know, way to start off small, reduce risks. You know, we're not like, there is something to be said for throwing your life savings into e-commerce, but I think the journey that you took was very slow and steady, that allowed you to minimize your risks. And I think that's a lot of people are looking for that. A lot of people are looking to go into this without, you know, pouring in tens of thousands of dollars, if not more, and then realizing, oh man, this isn't right for me. So any kind of big takeaway for, you know, sellers who are starting off or are interested in doing this?
Yeah, I believe that if you're tracking your ROI, your investment, right, your return on investment, you need an application that makes you feel comfortable about what you're spending. So when you launch a new product that's your private label product, if you're going to get into that niche, then you want to use an app like Seller Mobile, so you understand how much you're spending on your PPC, right? Your cost of getting that item ranked to the top, and then based off of that, what's your cost of sales? So sales and spent, and if you're somewhere in between, I'd say 0 to 30%. So somewhere in that range, that's kind of my rule of thumb. Because I've heard it said before that whatever you make, spend 30% back into marketing. So if you put 30% back into marketing, that's a perfect number. Some folks are okay with even 50%, but you know, I that's kind of my rule of thumb. I think when you come into sales, kind of like what Heba was saying, is that you want to feel comfortable where you're at. So if you don't have a lot of capital, like when I got started, then you want to start small, find a niche that works for you, and then scale from there. And don't get stuck on that niche either, because I think we feel as sellers we can get very comfortable on one product or two products. You want to keep on adding. The folks that got me into this industry for Amazon, that introduced me to these big sellers, they were someone I met on YouTube. So I recommend resources like YouTube to learn. That's my biggest takeaway, and build relationships. Don't just like view and don't say anything. Build relationships with these folks. Reach out to them and say, hey, I just want to say thank you. You've changed my life. I've applied some stuff that you taught me. And then when you build those relationships, perhaps the best thing that this gentleman that I met said to me was, because I really wanted to do something with him, he said, do not, he did not want to partner up with me on a product. And I think that's probably the best advice that he could have given me, because I've seen a lot of relationships go sour when you get two people investing on a product, and maybe one person puts 80%, the other one puts 20%, and then so you're going to feel like this ill feeling, because I was there with a business partner. So I think the best thing to do is, if you're married, maybe work as a spouse and husband deal when you're on the same page. If it wasn't for Amazon, I went back to work as an engineer for 3 years so I can get some capital to invest in our products, and then I was able to come home again, because so June of this year I quit my job because our Amazon business was making more than I was making as an engineer. And I'm pretty proud of my wife, because she found a very niche that she was happy about, and I support her. I don't touch the inventory because it's kind of like her baby. So I can't really share what she does, but yeah, Heba knows what I do. But that's kind of our bread and butter, and it's a very interesting niche that she found. And again, it was by building relationships. I had no idea this product was very popular, and that product led to another product, which is the one we're importing from China. So you find niches that there's so many out there, but you find niches that kind of relate to what your passions are. So I would say my biggest takeaway is that you want to find your passion, because finding your passion in that product is what's going to drive you to do it. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. And you know, I want to add one more piece to that, which you've said before, but I feel like it's so important, is if you don't see something that's out there, ask someone that's in that industry, in that niche, right? So don't just assume that you've got to do it on your own. Ask people for things that you want, and I feel like that's the way to do it. And that's, you mentioned that earlier about, you know, being a beta tester for us, is saying, hey, I want this, you know, I want to see this, I want to see this. I'm not going to go out there to build, you know, this software for myself, but you're already doing it, so add this to your list of tasks. And I think that you're right. Making connections with people, figuring out your passion, and then asking for things is really kind of the way to get started. Those are some little. I mean, I guess it's common sense, but sometimes it needs to be heard, and common sense is not always common. So
I love that. Yeah, common sense is not always common. That's so true. And you're gonna have. I think another thing too is don't take advice from family and friends that are not in this niche, especially when it comes to entrepreneurship, because you remind them of the dreams that they lost, that they had when they were in their 20s. Yeah. There's a lot of people that they say that people die when they're 20 because they stop dreaming, but they don't get buried until they're 65.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of people right now in my family that I'm getting to the age now where my aunts and uncles are retiring and they don't have a lot to go by. So I'd probably still be doing this until I'm gone from this earth, 80, 90 years, because I really enjoy the coaching. I enjoy the e-commerce space. And we all know that e-commerce is not going anywhere. As a matter of fact, one of my mottos that I learned from one of my old business partners was this. It's that business has gone from brick and mortar to click and order. So I absolutely love that. So
Cesar, one last thing. Tell us a little bit about your course, right? So you've got a course, EliteDropshippers.com. You can find information there. But give us a little 2-minute rundown of, what is that? What can someone find there?
Yeah, absolutely. So EliteDropshippers.com was started from the idea that I want to take the basic entry-level person that just wants to learn drop shipping, maybe make some side income. That's your average Joe. And then I have an advanced section that goes into exactly how I got started with Amazon. And then you can actually now use Seller Mobile to scan products, which is I used a different tool at the time because Seller Mobile wasn't available. But I use that tool to scan products, and it's a great way to get started. So depending on where you are financially, how hungry you are, I think that the average person can get started on the basic side. If you've never done drop shipping, it's a great way to start. And then if you want to get into some Amazon education, then that's the advanced section. And it really covers not only training, but there's tools to be able to use to be able to grab information out of stores like Amazon to be able to list on eBay. Recently, I'm throwing this as a bonus only for your viewers if they ever want to get into this niche of drop shipping. I'm teaching as a bonus using WordPress and WooCommerce because it's free. I know a lot of people push Shopify as a drop shipping website, but from my experience and talking to some professional people in this industry, you can't really SEO anything that's a duplicatable. When you have a multi-site system like Shopify, it's very hard to duplicate or rather create SEO. And you want Google to look for that fresh content, that new domain, and that's how I actually have gotten a lot of SEO sales. I don't pay for any marketing or PPC on that site. I have a store that's basically focused on party supplies, and it goes after items that are LED lights. It's a mixture of stuff. I got thousands of items on there. I teach about hiring an outsourcer to do it for you. But I also have a tool now that's the same tool I use over at Elite Dropshippers to be able to apply to this niche of dropshipping, and you can grab items from Amazon and then list them on your store to make a profit. So if that's something that interests you, either go to EliteDropshippers.com, send me a message, or reach out to Hiba, and she can put you in contact with me.
I'll post it below when we post on YouTube. I'll have the link below. So yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Cesar, you're so passionate about what you do, and you're so interesting, and you're so easy to talk to.
Oh,
so I think the people that are wanting to start, with Amazon you're a great sort of entryway to learning. And networking, and so thank you so much for chatting with me today, telling me about your experience, about your family, about just your journey. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you've been amazing. Thank you so much. I really love what you guys are doing over there, and I hope to continue working in providing ideas and exchanging just awesome ideas. I think this niche works best when you open your mind to other people's ideas. Definitely. So I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Cesar. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Heather.
All right, bye.
Bye.